Okay. My name is Konrad Jędrzejczyk. I used to work in police forensics, but then I came to my senses and I went to global banking, involving myself in security and investigations. I have some more experience than displayed here, like passing CISSP exam. But what is really important is that I was always interested in tapping to all digital transmissions that I were able since my first Commodore 64. Oh, work. Okay. And as mentioned, we will be talking about practical approaches. Um, I see more people are coming. Um, what we are seeing here is a WPA handshake. This is all very interesting, but what is important is that SSID, the broadcasted name of the network, is taking part in the encryption. What that means that you cannot effectively use rainbow tables in cracking GSM, Wi-Fi. This is not like GSM rainbow tables, 2 terabytes for cracking GSM. If you have two networks and with different network names and the same password, the output, the hash will be different, so you cannot reuse the pre-calculations. There are some rainbow tables for given network names like linksys or d-link for given key space, but they are not used because it's limited effectiveness, marginal, I would say. Here we see a logic about around authentication. What is important here is that for cracking WPA we need to have a handshake, and we can of course wait for a client to reconnect to our network, but we also can force it to de-authenticate. And by de-authentication, we mean sending forged information to access point that client wishes to cease the connection. Access point accepted, and the connection is ended. Then the driver of a client tries to reconnect. The handshake takes place, and we have it. This is a basic package. I have a lot of this equipment, but I've decided to show you this. The old one, PCMC card, is a Proxim Orinoco Gold version. At the time, it was worth a few $100s. Now it's worthless. A few years ago, I wanted to put it in good use, but the card was not able to catch the handshake. It came out that it was conducted on N. This is beyond its hardware capabilities, so your hardware must be up to date. The example of equipment that is up to date is Alpha card on the right, the black one. But it does have its weaknesses, like problems in long captures, noise handling, and power consumption. Right top, we have TP-Link. This is very cheap router. It's very good for OpenWRT, but we will talk it in a minute. On the left, we have almost the same in functionality, but with battery on board. Some can say that it is very useful, but I've never took advantage of it. We have also 3G modem. This have micro SD card. This is very important, as we will talk about it later. And the flash type. This might seem silly at first, but I've spent much time looking for a high capacity flash drive that will be fast enough to serve as a swap file, and at the same time be in USB 2.0 standard. None of the tested by me routers were able to boot from flash drive USB 3.0, so forget about backward compatibility. This doesn't exist, really. And here we have OpenWRT running on a simple router. This is very basic but very useful operating system. It's safe for normal home use, and we can install it install on it almost everything. Here we have a window with connected router on WRT running irodump-ng. Here we are gathering all informations from all channels. We can of course set it with particular settings like only capture given network name or channel or client. As we can see here, we have only WPA2. This is a random building, so we can completely forget about WIP. We see two networks here and here that are exchanging data. These two networks can be our targets for fast de-authentication, so we can fast have our handshake for decryption purposes. After you spend some years in Wi-Fi, you wish to have some more information about the environment, the network, the clients, how they connect. We can use free tools. I know that in presentation that will come today, they will show you some little graphs, but this is as useful as other solutions, and it's free. Except the connections that are currently taking place, we can see also the beacons. So we can also see the clients that wish to call for a network that is remembered. This can be a drawback. Why? Because your device is remembering networks that it connected in the past. So, without any forensic investigation, it can be proved that your device was connecting to a neighbor's network. You can also ask your fiancé after going back from conference why her hardware is, or his hardware is trying to connect a new hotel. Now some math. Please bear with me. This is important as it will be evident. Password entropy, brute forcing a password. Why if we even considering it? In Poland, one of the major Wi-Fi broadband internet provider is giving you a router, as most of these, with a unique network name. This is very good, not only to identify your network, but also, as we learned, for the security purposes. We cannot reuse the calculation that we have already made for other networks. But they use the passwords in very wrong way. They use only this uppercase only 8 character passphrase. So this is absolute minimum accepted by WPA. Lower you can have only numbers, 8 numbers and ready. And this entropy is exactly this. This is the number of possible combinations that may be on such router. And in this example, we have very outdated Radeon 6850. This is not produced anymore. This is worth $40 and it is unable to handle new Mortal Kombat. But it does generate 49 kilohashes per second. This is much more than modern CPU. We don't use CPUs for cracking. As you can see, you have 3.3 kilohashes per second versus 49 kilohashes on outdated $40 Radeon. About the process of cracking, since this is one-way encryption, this is hash, so we are trying all possible combinations to match the output hash, and when we will find it, it will point out the proper input. So, At this point, I'm sure that everybody is thinking what old Bitcoin miner can give us. Well, it's in our example with UPC, we will have all possible combinations in 2 days. 99% chance that you will have password to any UPC access point in 2 days. But wait, this is only an entropy. So statistics suggest that you should find it in the middle. So in the when you have a little farm, you have your password in 1 day. And in this example of outdated equipment, we have 26 days. Okay. Believe me that this was not prepared for this presentation. This is not a fake. This is our password entropy in the wild, really. This is a live example. We have UPC access point. We have this outdated Radeon, as we spoke before, 49 kilohashes per second. We have timing here, and the password was found not in 52 days, not in 26 days, below 9 hours. Password starting with AA. You have to understand that I'm not targeting UPC particularly. This is on an example of broadband provider that uses security in a very wrong way. We'll also speak about this later. Watch what will happen if we will add just one sign to our passphrase. We will not have 8, but 9. Still, we have 26 possible characters in the passphrase. This is almost 2 years for a single modern GPU. And for our little farm, for 9 characters in passphrase, we have 52 days, exactly the same amount, exactly the same time as 8 character password for outdated Radeon. When we are approaching non-standard access point that have name like Kate Network, Home, something like this, we need to approach it differently. We know that there is a high possibility that the user actually made his own password. And we cannot approach most of these access points with our equipment because a passphrase of 10 characters most likely will be beyond our hardware capabilities. So, this is Paulina. This is example of Polish woman's name. This is in the very basic Polish word list. And well, people know more than we are led to believe. They don't put so simple passwords in the on their access points. They make, for example, first character a capital letter, because they were forced to do so in other web applications and they reuse their password, or they add a number, or a number and a special. All of these, this here, we can generate using such rules. We can see here string normally occurring in the word list, and signs put it before, after, special, changing the case. And well, here we have a sample from Polish stolen database that is publicly available for quite some time. I've underlined strings that are present in the very basic Polish or English word list. As you can see here, using such a rules, we can defeat most of these passwords. So this is just an exploitation of the weaker point in all security implementation, which is human. How we can generate these passwords, these rules? We can use ready tools like CAP, but we can easily, very easily, write our own software. And well, try to remember that you can't save all this output from these tools to hard disk drive, because well, the output would be much bigger than any drive currently available. So the best way would be to feed the output from such tool directly to, for example, Hashcat, which is, in my opinion, the best cracking tool for WPA. As we said, this won't be as easy as we can see here, but we will be not able to directly approach our victim and ask for a password, but with very little effort we will be able to figure out how the password is generated. Well, at this point I'm sure that all of you know how to generate your own passphrases. And WPS, when poor design meets poor implementation. Because of its design flaw, we have only 11,000 possible combinations. WPS, perhaps from the beginning. WPS is a system that was designed in order to help users which are which have a little problems in handling the passwords. So someone figured out that perhaps when we will make a PIN as a backup, the user will have an easier life. When we normally, theoretically, when we push a button, we enter a PIN correctly on our laptop, the access point will send in plain text its passphrase. So what we need is only a correct PIN. This PIN will always be within these 11,000 possible combinations. UPC again. Their access points, their routers were ready for checking all the possible combinations from the moment they were started. So access point just waited for the right pin, and you could just play the river, wait up to 4 hours, and you had 1% assurance that you will get password no matter how long or difficult it was. This was fixed with an update around January 2015, and the standard is for quite a few years with us. With other equipment like TP-Link or D-Link, we had problems that of this kind, that we didn't need to push a button to make the access point ready for receiving a PIN. It was not protected against brute forcing, and some of them had so much problems that even if you will disable the WPS from the web panel, it was still available. It was still on. This was just okay. It's not available, but it still works. So what we need to do is to patch, and disable it. This is the best way. Back to OpenWRT. This is a sample of the hardware compatibility table. I can tell you that this table is so long that your router is also compatible with it, and I implore you to test it. Here we have a router running on OpenWRT. You have the machine. You have some other information about CPU and so on. And what we are seeing here is a flash drive capacity. We can also add here a swap if the memory is not enough for all our applications, but usually when you're just sniffing all network, there is no need for that. And of course, this flash drive must be fast enough to handle swap file. In other case, this usually freezes. And we have all tools that you would normally use on your laptop, on your Kali Linux, on other such a distribution. You can all of it install on your OpenWRT router and use it with battery, with 3G modem that does have its micro SD slot serving as a high capacity drive. You can execute wormhole attack. You can be far away from the actual range of Wi-Fi of the targeted network. You can still work on it. You can sniff the traffic. You can run river looking for VPS. You can do almost everything. And if you are starting to use terminal, don't forget about the screen. You either know it already or you will learn that this is the most important. Okay, this is, as previously said, all what we need to execute man-in-the-middle attack. We can also make a proxy for a person, for a network owner that we don't especially like. When we are in network over the wormhole attack, using it remotely or any other access, we can execute more sophisticated attack from a social engineering toolkit, but today we won't have time for this. And when we are on the victim network, we sometimes want to access the administrator panel. We can do this. This is easiest way to use Hydra. Hydra is software for Poland. This is normal pack for Kali Linux. We can use combo lists as previously displayed. But in case of administrator panel, the usual length of needed passphrases is very short because people tend to not change the passwords to the panel that they're afraid to use. So don't worry about this. And yes, if we have problems with the passphrase for administrator panel, there are routers in the world that actually allow you to execute commands on the root account without inputting any password. Look for it. There is a bunch of examples, and you can also, in some cases, download the flash from the router. So you can download it, unpack it, and look for hash or password in the plain text, depending on the software vendor. This vulnerability was used 1 year ago in Poland. We had a lot of malware that changes the DNS in home routers, and what it did actually, just changing DNS. You play with your internet without any problems. You are sending on all your requests to a copy of simple DNS. However, when you want to connect to online banking, this is redirecting you to a fake site, and you have man in the middle again. If you are thinking about testing such attack, we need to do something with this certificate. Well, in practice, sometimes there is no human approving the particular certificate, and this is done automatically. And even if there is, you can always change the content after you get it. We only need here to be green. the domain is not so important. Well, Wi-Fi. Wi-Fi is now everywhere. We can look for vulnerabilities everywhere. 1 year ago, also 1 year ago, it was very popular to exploit the vulnerability in the intelligent lightning. Again, you can gain access to victim network over a TV or something. Look for it. This is very interesting. But not always the wrong implementation is an issue. Sometimes we can use new standards, new options. Here we have example of quiet element for H standard. This is a new addition. To cut the story short, it was meant to add a possibility for router to ask for silence when advertising its network name. So, of course, we can use it to just silence our victim routers and force the user to make a factory reset, just in case his password was too strong for us. We can also constantly de-authenticate this client, but well, this is very noisy. Everybody see it. It is logged in such a router, and quiet element, to my knowledge, is not. You can see only in raw. There are no automatic tools looking for it, even IPS or something like this. So, any questions?
Hello.
Hello.
Regarding the hash cracking,
Yes.
Would it be possible to use USB Bitcoin miners to crack the hash? And what do you do when you don't have any traffic on the network, besides the authentication attacks?
Okay. The first question. When you are these Bitcoin miners on USB, they are pre-programmed. They are made in factory to solve only for Bitcoin purposes. We cannot reprogram it. This is not Spartan-like chips. You can use Spartans, but they are very expensive. This is like programmable Bitcoin miner. And when there is no traffic, and when we are dealing with WPA, this might be a little problem. However, we can check WPS. This is first. And well, we can sniff the particular network and channel. So you have no problems in IRODump, and listen to it for a few weeks, and you have 100% chance that someone will connect if the access point is active. I hope this answer.
Any other questions? No?
Really?
Everything was clear. Thank you so much.
Thank you.